19th August 2023 is the date and year today. Good morning, Uganda. It is a Saturday. My name is Edirisa Muwonge. We have late by just 4 minutes. We apologize for that. Here to fulfill the promise we made with you that every single Saturday we shall always be here by God's grace to deliberate on matters pertaining to the development of our country. Now, the government of Uganda, through the Prime Minister, says that they are still in talks with the World Bank to reconsider its decision on, suspending, extending loans to Uganda. We shall be discussing that. Now, the woes in the FDC continue to escalate because Nandela Mafabi, who happens to be the Secretary General, wrote another letter to the Speaker of Parliament explaining, justifying his position to fire Samuju Nganda as the whip of the FDC. Now, Samuju Nganda isn't the only leader in the FDC who's facing the wrath of the Secretary General, but also his deputy, Mr. Harold Kaija. Nandela Mafabi wrote a letter to the President, that is Mr. Moriat, accusing his deputy, Harold Kaija, of defrauding some Ugandans, promising to secure for them visas to the US. Now he's accusing him of abusing the office, and he's also asking the President to consider firing him as the Deputy Secretary General. Welcome to Dialogue. My panelists are already here. I do have Honorable John Baptist Nambeshe. He is the Chief Opposition Whip in the Parliament. Good to have you, Honorable.
Oh, thank you for hosting me and the viewers. Greetings.
I should extend our condolences to you because the last time we had you here, you were telling us that you are not always in Kampala, you're always in the village, helping your father to get medical attention.
Yeah,
but he passed on.
My father.
So as BTM family, we want to extend our condolences to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. And I must also use this opportunity to express my heartfelt appreciation to all. By the way, I received so many friends, even from a number of media practitioners from a number of media houses that came and stood with me during the send of my father, who had battled prostate cancer for over 15 years. And normally could be treated from Nairobi Hospital. It was only that particular day he passed away when we were arranging to fly him to Nairobi. He was getting first aid here in Mulago after Kampala Medical Chambers. That's when he actually yielded his spirit. But thank you for the condolences.
Yes, may his soul rest in eternal peace. I also have Mr. Muguzi Henry. He is the Executive Director of Alliance for Finance Monitoring. Good to have you, sir.
Good to have you, Muwonge, and the viewers. Quite always an honor to be here, but also on my own behalf, let me also convey my most sincere, condolences to the Honorable Nambeshe. But also other viewers there who have lost loved ones. May their souls rest in eternal peace.
Good. By the way, Henry, namesake of my father.
Oh.
Yes. Henrico, he was a staunch Catholic.
Oh.
I think Henry is a Catholic.
We call it Enrique.
Yeah. He's also a Catholic.
Enrique. Yeah.
Honorable, I should start with you. Over this week, a number of members of Parliament were in Bokedia on the invite of the Speaker of Parliament, who had initially invited them to attend the Thanksgiving ceremony. I understand that over 300, not so quite sure about the number, but over 300 attended the function. Now, it wouldn't have caught much of our attention until when we learned of the chief guest, who happens to be the first son and also the senior presidential advisor on special operations. This has been on the lips of Ugandans, especially when he met the members of Parliament, and some media houses have gone on to term it as an endorsement of the MK by the Parliament. Samuju Nganda tabled that in the House. The Deputy Speaker of Parliament was very fast to refute it. He cleared the air that this was nothing but just an invitation for the Thanksgiving ceremony of the Speaker. Meeting the MK was a coincidence, but they didn't endorse him. First of all, were you present? Two, what did this mean? Members of Parliament meeting the Speaker, the Muhoozi Kainerugaba, a man who's been in the news for the last 2 years, people thinking that he's contemplating contesting for the presidency of this country, others citing hypocrisy, that some army officers who have taken the journey he's taking ended up facing the wrath of the UPDF, names like General Sejusa, you know, but for him, he's untouched and
General Tumukunde.
General Tumukunde. Take it up from there.
Yeah, what does it mean? No, before I come to what does it mean, let me first begin. First things first. Did I attend?
Yes.
I did, because it's rather unfortunate that the invitations were skewed, I think, in favor of only those that she would have loved to associate with her. Me, I was not invited.
Would you have loved to attend, though?
Not necessarily so, but I wish, as the head of the institution, it should have been a general invitation, but it was not.
Selective.
And it was, and carefully, so it was meticulously done. And it is true that it attracted a mammoth number of our members of parliament. And I know there is nothing wrong in the Right Honorable Speaker convening such a meeting. It was a Thanksgiving, although eventually it mutated into a retreat. I saw it was a kind of retreat, but earlier on the surface of it was a Thanksgiving. And I also subjected the invitation to scrutiny when I got a copy, which of course circulated, and it is in the public domain. The invitation never mentioned the chief guest. I think the chief guest in himself was a surprise gift to those members that attended.
Gift.
It is not mentioned at all. Two, where does this, what does it mean? It has exposed disastrously and adversely so the likes of Muhoozi Kainerugaba as a very unpopular upcoming leader. I didn't know until this happened, because this was the first of its kind to gather mammoth crowds to that magnitude. Earlier he had come to Mbale, he had been to Sebei, but he could hardly hazard.
You mean in the east?
In the east.
Because when he was in the west, he actually gathered a huge crowd. And even when he was in West Nile.
And west is understandable.
And in West
even
Nile,
West Nile, I will tell you why. Now I want to tell you why. He had so many people attending, including members of parliament.
Please
don't you think the first son, just at that level of being first son, he would use his clout to even invite over 300 members of parliament? He has tried and failed. So who is the power center that had the anointing to attract that number for him? And who is this kingpin in the sub-region that has what it takes to gather the whole, almost half of the whole region, and even anoint using the scripture, the popular scripture, that God the Father, the Son. I didn't know the Holy Spirit, whether it will be the mother or the wife or the grandson.
After the father is gone, comes the Holy Spirit.
Now this in itself also demonstrated by word and deed that Uganda, as we had feared earlier, is slowly but surely degenerating into a monarchy. And what President Museveni, I mentioned it when I was putting up a spirited fight in the 10th Parliament to stop the removal of presidential age limits. But you were entrenching literally that law that removed the presidential age limits from the constitution. We're entrenching a presidential monarchy. Now a monarchy is where a parent passes it over to the offspring. Now the offspring, it has already been now pronounced. This was a Thanksgiving Day. I think they endorsed that you from the son, then the Holy Spirit should be the offspring of the son. So Uganda literally is a kingdom.
But Honorable, this is something that they have always denied. First of all, his supporters have already said that Mr. Muhoozi has not come out anywhere at any time to say that he's contesting for the presidency of Uganda. The father himself, sometime back when he was having an interview with Al Jazeera, he denied this. This is something that is just, you know, that's just a mere allegation, according to his supporters.
Let me clear the air. That Muhoozi has come out point blank and bold, so to speak, to demonize the ruling party, NRM.
As a reactionary party.
A reactionary party and a den of thieves and thugs and all manner of wrong people, wicked people. And for him, he comes for change. And that in and of itself is political. By the way, we are talking about this, but if you were to read the law of the land,
yes,
he is in absolute contravention of the constitution. An active serving army officer cannot, shall not, in fact the word used there is a verb, shall not participate in partisan politics. But for him to be anointed openly, and I never refuted it, that you are now taking it from the Father, and after you expect the Holy Ghost. That in and of itself should have been refuted. He should have objected openly. He didn't. And there have been other statements, political statements that have been made in his reference of him, and even he himself welcomingly admitted. So you rightly observed,
yes,
in your introductory remark,
yes,
that what is all this about?
If
it were another army officer, not the first son. Now this demonstrates that whoever wrote the other book was a genius. Animal Farm. That in any given community, some animals are more equal than others. Muhoozi is more equal than the likes of Tinyefunza. Is more equal than the likes of Tumukunde. If there was a Tumukunde who would also dare the powers that be, you are active serving journal and you go out to hold meetings under the guise of parties like birthday parties. This in itself was not a birthday party. But you see, NRM as a party is confused and divided at once. I want to persuade you to accept that.
Before we go there,
yes,
where does this leave the parliament? Honorable Semuji raised it, and the deputy speaker responded to him. But in your opinion, as a legislator in that house, parliament which ought to be independent from the executive, from the judiciary, an independent arm of government, but these members of parliament, you know, appearing and then yearning shake hands with the first son, where does this leave their reputation, or where does it leave the reputation of the house at large?
It puts the image and dignity and the sanctity of the house to disrepute, by the way. Because, and are you aware? Are you aware? And are you aware that I, in my capacity as the Chief Opposition Whip, already am privy to the process of exercising disciplinary control on some of our own, who not those who attended. People were at liberty to associate with the speaker because he's our leader. Those who honored the invitation, they are at liberty. Even if you were in opposition, the speaker is our leader. And if she invites you, or she has a function, or she has lost, those functions those functions do not have affiliation of parties. But that you would die to shake the hand of a person who is opposed to change in Uganda, would want Uganda to maintain a, well, I mean, is actually initiating a Chwezinization. You remember the Chwezi dynasty narrative is slowly but surely being brought to perfection and enforcement through the Muhoozi project. So those of our own who identified with him must be taken through some dialogue of sorts, if not disciplinary action on them.
Someone will ask you, what's wrong with, shaking hands with him? What's wrong with associating with him? After all,
it would be an absolute.
I'm not pushing his campaign. I'm not like helping him to
the Bible,
push his agenda. I'm
the
just
Bible,
associating with him.
And the other holy books are very clear. You cannot serve God and Mammon at once, at the same time. You cannot be the one who is advocating and in the struggle for change, and then you are the one working with the system that is oppressing and suppressing any efforts for change. So the two should be like a dog and a cat. But that some of our own, whom you already know, the Honorable Kagabo, I will mention them, Dr. Kagabo has come out bare knuckles to work with the MK project. And then recently, another one, my good friend, yes. These two, as a party, we are talking to them. And eventually, they have to realize that you cannot be a holder of a ticket of a party like a NUP and then work for the side that would not want to see change, that is oppressing. You see how NUP has suffered. If you talk of cross-human rights violations, the party and the presidential candidate that suffered the most was the NUP candidate. And we cannot therefore be the ones supporting this branch of the junta.
Speaking of those two, I think I listened to the justification of that Honorable Parliament from Njeri Municipality, where I was like, look, the reason I chose to work with MK, you see, I have a task of lobbying for my people. I want to improve the welfare of my people. And Muhoozi is going to help me reach his father, who's going to help me, get what I've been lobbying for in a short time. Isn't that justification enough for you to allow him to work with their people who can help?
It is not. We have Uganda, and it is common knowledge that Uganda is grappling with the serious challenge of service delivery concerns. They are everywhere in all the constituencies. Now, if we went he treated it as an emergency. He had to go urgently. What has changed? Do we see any roads being fixed? Do we see any peculiar infrastructural developments in Njeru? Far from it. So some of these, forget to know that the populace is not gullible. The populace has known that this particular regime has been in power for now close to 4 decades. It's coming, it's just shy, 2 years shy. 4 decades with roads in a very deplorable state, water, major sanitation issues. We have even is near when falls down, but there are issues of electricity coverage in his constituency. Now he expects any miracles to come from me blundered, and that's why do you hear him? Do you see him in the media anymore? He has broken down. He's full of contrition, and he's undergoing some psychosocial support.
All right.
Yes.
Mr. Muguzi, I want to come to you. But I want you to put your focus on Mr. Muhoozi Kainerugaba. His image 2 years ago, how a section of Ugandans looked at him. Remember the bad words they used to associate with him. And now the current Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who members of parliament are in courts yearning to shake hands with. He's been traversing the country. You've been seeing how he pulls crowds. This Muhoozi, if he said that, look, now I've made up my mind, and if his father gave him the space to contest for presidency of this country in 2026, do you think he's still an underdog?
Thank you, muwonge, and of course viewers. Now, it's important for me to speak with context. But let me start by saying that over the past 2 years, it has become clear like the biblical mene teke ufasin. That's how clear the writing is, that Muhoozi is being paraded as the next president. It's only a matter of time. It's no longer a question of if. Now, that the whole Speaker of Parliament who swore to protect the Constitution fails to understand that, of course, they understand that this man is campaigning. Over the last 2 years, he's been campaigning to become the next president. And that the speaker is complicit in that scheme. The very speaker that has swore to protect the constitution and is, abetting the violation of the constitution, the UPDF Act, I think is really deplorable and absurd. But let me say this: if you look at Africa, where now we are saying that there is a wave of coups starting to come back, you will understand that between 1960 and 1980, we had, I think, over 110 military coups. And then we went into democratization, whatever they called it. But now, recently, we are seeing a wave of coups coming back, and we can categorize these coups put them into two categories. There are coups that are civilian in nature, and coups that are military in nature. Now, coups that are military in nature are those you are seeing with Guinea, Mali, Burkina Faso, Chad, and so on. Not Chad, what is it? Niger. Yeah. But of course, there are also those civilian coups. And civilian coups refer to the leaders who have been elected into office, and they have decided to rape the constitutions of those countries in order to make sure they entrench their stay in power. Now, what is happening today is clearly trying to build a dynasty where power is transferred by what is it called, from father to son. Now,
in a monarchy,
if in a monarchy kind of thing, if you read why the coups took place in Burkina Faso, it's Mali and Guinea, they were saying they were resisting these elected leaders that have violated the constitution and become so undemocratic that they have defied and violated every living legal instrument, including the constitution, in order to entrench themselves in power. Now, if the coups started in West Africa, there's one thing we learn from them, is that a country that has tested coups before is always a candidate for the next coup. I'm saying this before I come to your question proper. So Uganda is one of them. Niger, we are told this was their fifth. That we start to anticipate that political power is going to be transferred from father to son in a monarchical kind of way. And because Ugandans are silent, that's okay. I think is to be blind, it's to be politically naive, is to choose not to be awake to what is going on in Africa. What is going on is this: you have a young man of 34 taking over power in Burkina Faso. I mean, the continent is full of young blood, young energy. So they must be looking at this Burkina Faso chap, and they're like, okay, we can do it if they did it. We are not short of young people. The fact that they're keeping quiet does not mean that they're in agreement. Maybe Uganda, which has also been, which has tested military coups before, military takeovers before, we don't know what can happen, but that leaders who have elected in parliament are trying to be, to play blind to this and are trying to capture the eye. In Uganda, we know when someone is elected to parliament, they always try to do everything possible to catch the eye. So they used over the president so they can be appointed ministers. You can already see that already many of them are trying to align to catch the eye of Muguzi, because in their heads, I think it's a done deal. It's fait accompli. I mean, he's the next president. Well, he's a citizen, he can be president. But the manner in which it is done, this is a man who continues to violate the constitution. If you speak to Kakwenza, he'll tell you this is the guy that commandeered my, torture. If you speak to those that were picked out in the drones, he has never denied this. They're saying this was under the command of the guy. So you look at what are we coming up with. Now, to go to your question, is he increasing in popularity? I think now there is belief growing that Mr. Museveni is becoming tired, and that also the appetite for the son is growing. There is not much opposition coming through. You see now he's been having a field day. For the last 2 years, he's enjoying this space. He's only on campaigning. And they're denying it is not campaigning. It is campaigning in everything but name. So he's campaigning. So when they look around and like, they say, oh, wait, the president is like, he has given him free rein. He's doing all these things. And he has allowed him to. Maybe the president is also consenting. So, you know, the movement is building, the belief is building that this is the next president. He can be the next president because he's Ugandan. And then Ugandan can be president. Tomorrow it can be Honorable Nambeshe, it can be me, it can be you, edirisa, because we are all Ugandans. But the thing is, how do you get there? Now, his popularity has grown, but also what has grown is the number of opportunists around him. His father warned him that when he looks around, he sees that most of the men and women who are, you know, chanting muhozi MK are really psychophants. They are people who are opportunity seeking, opportunity seekers.
These people, in my opinion, when I was putting my question to you, I asked about his current, you know, the perception of Ugandans about him currently. It has actually been improved. And all this is thanks to the people who are associating with him. They have helped him cleanse his image. You know, he's now more appealing to Ugandans because of the people surrounding him.
I don't think
like
it is
it used to be in
appeal.
the past.
I don't want to think, okay.
They deserve credit, actually.
It can be, you see, there are times in life when citizens look at something they don't understand and they choose to step back to understand it more. So the silence of the citizens may not necessarily mean they have consented and now are supporting it. But of course, what you've gotten right and what is clear is that the number of fortune seekers that is rallying behind him has grown. And so you will see a minister here, oh, Team West, we are waiting for Team Mumbali.
He came and he was really humiliated.
He was.
Receiving?
So you see, increasingly, it is becoming apparent that, oh, the probability that this man is going to be the next president is high. So how do I now position myself in the broader scheme of things so that I can be on the other side of where the tap is pouring?
You see, to cut you short, in Mbale, he left people, especially organizers, the fortune seekers. Museveni himself put it that they are opportunists. These are colleagues, MPs. They spend their money to transport people from Bududa, where Kapchoro, where Tumbale. And
using their own money.
Their own money.
So it's not benefiting from
in fact, one of the members I will mention, Chemaswet from Sebei, after using 1 million and claiming they were not giving him, he just disappeared mysteriously. He could not wait anymore. So they expected the money. They have put money. One is by the being owed 34 million. Another one gathering people or transporting people. He never even addressed in Mbale. He only stopped in church.
So these are individuals investing their own money.
Their own money.
So because they have expectations.
Is it because they love the country?
Expecting to reap big.
To recoup it, absolutely. Yeah. So these are political merchants that are rallying up, you know, to be seen, you know, positioning themselves, expecting number one, they can land government positions. Number two, they can land business contracts. They, you know, I don't know, everything.
So I believe that these people that the father to Muhoozi, President Museveni, refers to as opportunists, they have actually helped his son, you know, to improve and become more appealing to Uganda.
But I think also the opposition.
Is now surrounded by,
for example,
parliament.
There's no aspiring president or party leader that is coming out to crowd that space. You see, they have all taken back seat. The young man, is having a field day. No, where is your man, Bob Wine? Bob Wine. Where is Muntu? They have left him to enjoy that space.
He's the right
now.
person to
I want to you, Henry, on that one. You know very well why he's enjoying the space unilaterally. It is because of what has become policy in Uganda. Opposition, you remember even when the likes of Vesige and he had mobilized his people for a meeting in one of the hotels. Was it Hotel Africana? But even there...
Where was just scooped out?
Yes.
By some supporters of his.
So if you cannot even be allowed to hold a meeting or a rally at your party headquarters, and you are not allowed, now even for instance, us as a National Unity Platform,
Yes.
we had a program to move to all regions soon after our victory was denied us. You remember even when we tried to claim it back using courts of judicature. After that frustration, we decided that we should now roll out to the public, and we had the plans, we had a program to start with Western Uganda. Could we be even in Mbarara?
You mean when you had returned to the People's Court?
Yes, after getting back to the People's Court. But we were not allowed. It is common knowledge in Uganda that parties, even registered parties, even those of us who are providing leadership in parliament, NUP, cutters of our numerical strength, we cannot be allowed to hold any meeting beyond an indoor meeting at your party headquarters. Okay. So that's the reason why the sun is actually having all the latitude.
Because it's being protected by the security mechanism.
Highly protected.
Mr. Muguzi, you are talking about the coups that happened in West Africa. Then this reminded me of something that has caught Uganda's attentions of late about President Museveni. Yesterday when he was inspecting the Guard of Honor in Kabale during the International Youth Day, he was moving that glass blade for something.
Yes.
This was something that President Museveni has always done. He has always been inspecting the parades, you know, without anything that is, you know, inside. Ugandans have asked that when you start the show, help us understand what is that thing that President Museveni, you know, is moving in, and why now?
He has become more insecure. I don't know whether you have been closely observant, but those of us who have been keen observers, we realize that the Museveni we had something like 20 years ago is not the current one. This particular one is so careful. You remember even that idea to reduce the polling stations, he has been garnering his votes from to one polling station, a kind of electoral college, by changing from the presidential system to a parliamentary system. It has also collapsed. Why? Because he thought with the parliament it would be easier, only one polling station for him, given that he has advanced in age, and indeed the age has had the best of him. He can no longer traverse the whole country like he used to do. But secondly, he's so insecure so much in the fact that now he can, even when he is able to walk and inspect a guard of honor, he would rather, he's no longer, he does not even trust his shadow.
He doesn't trust people around him.
No,
Yeah?
far from it. And that's why when it came to a time after, you remember the border was, the border between Uganda and Rwanda closed for quite a duration of time. Was it 2 years?
Close 2 years.
He was supposed to visit his
comrade
in Rwanda, but he opted to relinquish that responsibility to the son, because he was suspicious after instructing, I'm sure, the son, and moving with the son to powers that be,
but eventually
in Russia here. As a statement it is making to Ugandans that now it is time for you to know that the most trusted I would relinquish power to, and I would want to be closer to me, and the one who can even attend errands like very, very sensitive ones, like the one of Rwanda that culminated into opening, resolving the impasse, and then even the heat of the war between Russia and Ukraine, he moves with the son. It's a statement to Ugandans. And that's why he has given the son all the protection, all the resources to traverse the country as he so wishes, even when he is, and he's doing it deliberately. He has done it in the past. when he appointed the late Aronda Nyakairima as a minister, it was in absolute contravention of the constitution. That time, even when some members threatened to go to court, it just died a natural death.
He has now gone to appoint more.
Now that set yes, it has set a precedent, and it is difficult now for one even to challenge this one. But the truth of the matter is this: you mentioned about coup d'etat. There is a serious rift. Some of us who keep our ears on the ground. Don't you think the men in uniform are jubilating and celebrating that the first son is enjoying special status and they are very happy? This has helped to deepen and broaden a rift even within that institution. There are those who realize that there is an army within an army. SFC is the best equipped, the most remunerated, the most highly trained. And those actually the equipment, the best modern equipments you can mention.
And cared for, because I've seen the accommodation. I mean,
oh yes.
It's much more.
So that the special status and privileges and perks they are enjoying in and of itself is deepening that rift within the regular army of men, officers and men. Even in the first family itself, yes, there is a rift back in the palace itself. And that plays well to these predictions that since Uganda has never had an opportunity to have a most peaceful transfer of power, and we expected this to come with President Museveni, the gift he should have given to Uganda.
Is it too late to achieve that now?
No, now he has degenerated completely into a monarchy. Because earlier, when we thought he was having these two valves, the term limits he removed, we thought the age limit would be left as the only valve, and then he removed it. Then surely there is nothing he can give you. We thought the gift he would give to Ugandans was to initiate a transition, or rather a peaceful transfer, because Uganda has never had that opportunity of power from himself, even if it were his son. But I wish it were done in a democratic, constitutional manner. That would have helped matters. But now I am actually inclined to agree with Henry that since Uganda is bedeviled with coups, there is a looming, there could be a looming.
There's a reference that has ever suffered a coup is a candidate to another coup.
Absolutely.
God forbid.
But there's a point he's making. You see, the president looks like he's trying to do exactly what you are saying. He's trying to gift Ugandans with a peaceful transfer. By if you see now, he goes to Serbia, Russia with the son, clearly telling everybody that, look, if you want me to relinquish power, this is my, and when a leader is in office for 4 decades, they commit many mistakes and crimes that can clearly be used against them. The president will tell you, right now there is a case in the ICC. Who is going to ensure that he's given immunity, diplomatic immunity, protected against the ICC?
His son.
So it has to be his son, and I think he looks around, and the only person he can trust is actually his son. And by the way, if we are going to have for the first time test a democratic transfer or a peaceful transfer of power, the President Museveni has to play a role in it, has to participate in it.
Okay, sir.
And I think he's trying to do the same. I would imagine. But you asked a question earlier, and the question was about what? Was about let me answer it like this: that the country Uganda, okay, has a context. And the context of this country has to be that perhaps our only option to enjoy or to test the first ever peaceful transfer is by allowing the president to do it his way. The question is, how do we avoid a Togo where the son of the president comes, takes over, and that one would reign for another 50 years, so that you avoid the dynasty. Number two, there was a question you asked about the safety of the president, why he's going on a,
that thing is moving.
Yeah,
and the blood proof. And I'm wondering,
the blood proof.
How long will this go on?
The blood proof.
The president shows that.
If you read what's happening in the global north, it seems there are certain sections of the global north that think this man should go. There are certain governments.
The global north.
Global north means Americans, Europe, America, and European countries. There are certain countries there that want him gone. And remember, every time we have changed the government in Uganda, we have been helped by an external force. All right? We have been helped. And
I've never seen him. Even when I read this book, I never saw anywhere where he says that he was helped by any Western force to ascend to power.
Come here.
Himself, yes, I've never.
He had to get guns from Gaddafi.
I thought you referred to Western.
No,
external. Sorry, external forces. Yeah, but other than him, the previous ones, of course, external forces, and in other countries, the Europeans, of course, help. And one of the things they can do, the tricks they can use, is assassination. We have seen leaders assassinated before. The profile of Mr. Museveni is growing. Mr. Museveni is at a level where he's challenging all the positions of the West. And remember, the West has their interests. And most of those interests are not necessarily always in our favor. But you see he's standing tall against them and speaking truth to power. And they wouldn't like that. And I think he made also a mistake by signing the Anti-Homosexuality Act. Because then he gives them a scapegoat. They wanted him out. They were looking for what is the scapegoat we use. Then he signs it. Then they have something to cling on to justify. Whatever.
I've always heard
that
he's actually the good books of the Americans because he's helping serve their interests. Look at, for example, he's in Somalia for them. He's helping them pacify, some parts of Africa where they would love to go directly, but they're not. He is serving the interests. I thought he's still that good book.
You see, the interests of the West are so broad and diverse. That is just one of them. But I think they can get Ruto to do that role. You see, they can get Ruto to do that role. But you see, he is growing popularity. And remember also the other threat that is emerging now is the drift towards Russia.
Okay.
The African leaders that are drifting towards Russia and China.
And that's so annoying to the Americans.
Absolutely. You have seen that many West African leaders currently have been paying homage to the president. Maxwell was here. The Togo man was here. I think many of those coup leaders might also pay homage. So this man, he commands the sway within the continent. And he's saying, look, we can stand against these fellows. And the West knows. The West would want to keep us dependent. They want to leverage things like they leveraged China in 1960. Remember 1960? China had the famine and they had no food. And they always had to use that. Either you do what you want or we give you food. They're trying to do all policies to make sure we remain dependent. They're bringing those GMO seeds that are going to suffocate our own seeds, and then people don't have seeds and so on. But he's standing tall and says, I'm seeing where you're going. Let Africa not go there. So it looks as if he has enemies in the West. He has enemies also here, because if you're going to promote your son the way he has, you're not going to avoid enemies within the military establishment. So you can never know where the threat is going to come from, but clearly I can feel him. I can feel that he also feels that he's now at that point of insecurity.
Okay. Honorable, as we talk about those who are in charge, who are in power now, let's also talk about you who are planning. How organized you are. And particularly I want to look at the FDC. The former biggest or strongest opposition political party. I don't know its status currently. I don't know if any of you are surpassing.
That was before 2021, because now the biggest is here.
The disorganization, the infights that are in the FDC. When I was opening the show, I just told you how the Secretary General has accused his deputy of, defrauding some Ugandans, lying to them that he can help them go abroad. The other day he wrote a letter to the Speaker of Parliament, a letter to her, asking, informing her on how he had actually fired Mr. Samujungan and replaced him with Mr. Nsibambi. Those fights, you've been following up on them. I don't know how the NUP is standing currently, but you're also not, as stable as you're supposed to be. Now, these infights in the opposition political parties, don't they also give, chance to President Museveni? We've just been talking about his son, who's traversing the country. Hasn't he also capitalized on your disorganization, to enjoy the support we are seeing?
Oh, President Museveni is the brain child. Is actually the architect of all this. And he's 40 years, coming close to 40 years, he has successfully amassed primitively wealth around him. Money he has like rubbish. And he's putting it to the best use. When he dangles it around, temptation is that are carving around the members in all these opposition parties. And he made a vow some years back, right from I think 2011, that later he said he would finish opposition by 2020.
Sure. And
that is the honesty which I salute him for. Sometimes he's honest. He lets the cat out of the bag. Indeed, it came to pass. We saw UPs crumbling and eventually entering in that unholy marriage. We see a number of them being appointed to ministerial positions. Then eventually DP, it took a whole president of the party and offered him the ministerial post. But before that, we knew he had used him on spying network on opposition.
And he actually came out to inform us on how far he has advanced. He said, the FDC, we okay, DP, we okay.
Yeah,
it is this NUP which is stubborn.
Yes.
But the NUP is still as stubborn as it used to be.
Now you are talking. So when we see
yes.
FDC in this shambles with the internal wrangles, we are not surprised. We knew it was bound to come. And of course, we are solid as a national unity platform. Those allegations may be there, but the truth of the matter is that we are providing leadership, courtesy of our numerical strength. But about the internal contradictions, it's not the first time for a party to have internal contradictions. Our worry is if the one faction joins the junta, joins the NRM, that's where we would go wrong. But like it happened and FDC gave birth to ANT, Muntu. ANT is now still part of us, is a force of change. And for some of the meetings which we are holding, if you could see my eyes red, is because now we spend sleepless nights caucusing to ensure that forces of change are together. We are stronger when we are together. The likelihood that one faction may join Museveni is very slim and may not be there. But there is a likely split within this FDC. And this is not good. This is not something we could celebrate. It's something to frown and frown upon. And we would wonder and ask the fundamental question. Why on earth would Museveni, so many years down the road in power, want to destroy opposition? Moreover, any serious government that is hell-bent on deepening democracy would want to have a strong opposition, because the cardinal role of opposition is to keep the government in power in check. It's like a mirror. If you have a mirror and it has shown your face is messed up, you clean your... No, do you break the mirror?
You're planning to oust him. Why should he give you breathing space? Why shouldn't he disorganize you if he has the opportunity? You are his enemies, political enemies. You're planning to oust him, to remove him so that you can get where he is.
No, that in itself demonstrates that Museveni is not patriotic, but Museveni also hates Ugandans to the marrow. he hates Uganda.
You don't want to
If you compared and contrasted him with the Rwanda strongman, the two are complete opposites. One loves this country, and really he is focused. He has concentrated focus on a quality populace and also real serious development. Here it is an opposite. I want to tell you why.
Honorable, this is a president of the Republic of Uganda.
Yes.
And you're saying, you're accusing him of hating the populace?
To the marrow.
Is he accusing or describing?
I will look.
It's an accusation, a huge one actually.
I will look into that camera.
How can a president hate his own people? If he doesn't love his own people, whom is he going to love then?
If he loved Ugandans, he would want to nurture a strong opposition. Opposition, to me, the analogy of a mirror works very well. If you have a mirror in the house and then you look into it, it shows your face is not clean, and it prompts you to go and clean the face. Would you break the mirror for that? If the cardinal role of opposition is to keep the government in check, and we have not taken arms, we have not like he did. If we had taken arms, he would go that extreme, so that he destroys opposition, because he wants to secure himself firmly in power. But we are here taking the normal structures that are provided for democratically by the constitution.
But where in Africa is a sitting president allowing opposition to enjoy all the space? I
will take you to the neighborhood. Go to Kenya.
In Kenya?
Yes.
In Kenya?
In Kenya it is working. In Kenya we have seen, and the Kenyans are not as privileged. They do not have a serious opposition in parliament. In fact, it is Ruto's Kenya Kwanza that has mooted the idea of establishing, or rather creating, an opposition in parliament, so that those like now Azimio, instead of having their principles outside parliament, they can engage from within. He wants to do that, to create an official opposition. They have indeed, but it is similar here. The party president is not, he talks from outside. He's not part of the legislature. But that's what Kenya is. Kenya, you have seen people picketing. They even engage using the judiciary. Judiciary is independent. And even when they are not satisfied with the judicial ruling, they are at liberty to picket and demonstrate like they are doing. You see now it has attracted the attention of an arbiter, the likes of Olusegun Obasanjo. Earlier it was the late Kofi Annan. So Kenya would be the best example to use. But the truth of the matter is that here in Uganda, if the president were interested in nurturing a serious president who loves the country and knows that he surely has served his time and is likely to exit even if you are the best dancer, Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere the late, may God give him eternal rest. This is what he said, that you can never ever purport to be successful until your successor succeeds. Discuss. He was able to see his successor succeed. And even so that you take it up from there. You find he saw Halio Hassan Mwenyi take power. He was still alive when Benjamin Mkapa took over. Chikwete came. Then the recent bulldozer, the late Magufuli. Yes. And you see how even when he died, they still...
all those are from CCM.
They went by the dictates of the constitution. The power had to go to the vice president as stipulated by the constitution. Now in Uganda is a complete opposite. Here you will see a president who is interested in tinkering with the constitution.
Who was the man who was opposed to John Paul Magufuli?
Oh no!
He even left the country.
Tundu Lissu.
Yes.
Tundu Lissu came back recently.
But you had his story where, during the reign of John Paul Magufuli. The man was harassed day in, day out. There was no maximum freedom as such in Tanzania.
Well,
so
you may fault Magufuli for it, but even you'll have local elements who know that we are not in good terms, and then would want to exploit that as a formidable weapon to blame it on me. And then they come and attack you, but at least he was not. There was in fact, Magufuli had everything in his power to kill Tundu Lissu. It is even claimed that Tundu Lissu could have stage managed the shooting.
An attempt on his life?
Yes, well, it is. There are a number of conspiracy theories. Me have been following.
How many bullets did he take? In his stomach?
I don't know.
You can't stage manage that.
That is one of the theories. The theories that is advanced. But the truth is that Magufuli came with I think a determination to change Tanzania positively, not negatively. The only challenge we saw with him is not accommodating, or rather tolerating dissent. But he is one person who will remain on record for elevating the economy of Tanzania to a middle income status in just one single presidential term. And two, and the most important, if there is a parliament I love and I want to interest you, even a judiciary, the one of Tanzania. He insisted and dictated. Of course, it was dictatorial in a way, but it has helped. There is some benevolent dictatorship which could work well for Africans. He said, why would we speak in the language of the colonizers when we suffered and then we assumed the independence? It should be Swahili. And Swahili is now the language they use, even arguing cases in courts of judicature. You have to be in Swahili. So is parliament. That actually promotion of African culture is what the World Bank. I want to disagree somehow with Henry. The World Bank slapping us with this suspension.
That's what we are coming
the loan facility
to discuss after this short break, Honorable. Let's take a break because that's.
I wish I could deal with it when the memory is still fresh. I mean, but anyway, it's okay.
Let's first take a break because when we come back, we are going to be discussing it to length. The World Bank. You know, I was so much surprised when I learned. First, I saw the president's reaction when the World Bank, announced that was suspending lending to us. His immediate, message to us was like, we can do without their money. But I was surprised to learn from the Prime Minister the other day when she said that actually we are still in talks. What came to my mind that we can't do without their money.
That's true.
We are taking a break. I'll be right back. Don't go away.
That's the 7 for you.
Are you looking for a one-stop center to host your conference or meeting, wedding parties, workshops or seminars? Tobani Conference Center has the perfect modern space for your event. We have spacious outdoor and indoor space to accommodate over 1,000 and below 150 people, offering free lighting, LED screens, free sound system, free chairs, free Wi-Fi, and secure basement parking space. Drop by at Cafe at 2 and we will be at your service with our finest coffee, espresso, cappuccino, and cafe latte. Enjoy incredibly delicious meals, grab a milkshake or a cocktail juice. Only at Cafe at 2. And that's not all. We have the latest video games for the game lovers. We are located in the city center at the Tobani Center Building Level 2 along Ginger Road opposite DFCU Bank. For more information and bookings, call 0772 307875 or 0750 647486. Thobani Conference Center, the place to be.
Have you looked for the best schools and you can't find any for your child? Here is the solution. Chikaya Secondary and Vocational Schools. We have both secondary and vocational section. We offer sciences and arts at secondary section. We have equipped library and the fast internet where a learner gets time to research more. We offer vocational studies, courses like mechanics, plumbing, hairdressing, catering, and many more. In order to prepare your child to be a job creator, not a job seeker, we also good in co-collegiate activities like in volleyball, netball, football to discover and improve their talents. For more information, call us now on 0757 641 157. Find us in Chikaya Village, Bulenga on Mitiana Road, 7 miles from Kampala.
Are you doing business? Is it on small scale or large scale? Do you want to reach a wider audience of potential customers? BTM TV is supercharging your business at very affordable prices. Grab the opportunity and advertise with the fastest growing channel and tap into our vast audience. Find us at Aga House Level 2, Mawanda Road, Kamocha, or our social media platforms at BTM TV, or call us on 0755 823 228 or 0793 001 858. BTM, we transform.
Don't miss on BTM.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're excited to bring you a brand new show titled Jazz with Cyrus. Have you desired to listen to saxophone music, flute music, harp music, trumpet music, keyboards? There'll be lots of guests, there'll be lots of music and fun and inspirational talk. Join us every Friday, 6 p.m. with Miss Cyrus.
Sit back and relax with BTM. We transform.
Are you looking for a source of hope and inspiration in your life? Do you need a place to turn to when you're feeling lost all alone? Look no further than The Faith Life, the show that's changing lives every day, hosted by the man of God himself, Dr. Apostle Henry Biamukama. The Faith Life is a beacon of hope for millions of viewers around the world. With over 32 countries visited, Bishop Biamukama has spread the message of salvation and faith to countless souls, and he's not done yet. Bishop Biamukama is currently constructing a 2,000-seater church 6 miles along Gayaza Road, a testament to his unwavering commitment to his flock. And it's not just Bishop Biamukama who's spreading the message of hope. Co-hosts Minister LG, Pastor Julius Pluto, and Evangelist Kathy lend their unique perspectives and insights to the show, making it a truly inspiring and uplifting experience for all those who watch. The Faith Life is more than just a TV show. It's a community of believers who come together to share their faith and find strength in their struggles. Whether you're looking for guidance, prayer, or simply a place to belong, The Faith Life is a perfect destination. Tune in to The Faith Life only on BTM TV and let the power of faith transform your life.
Sit back and relax with BTM. We transform.
So much for staying with us. You're still watching The Dialogue. My name is Edirisa Muwonge. We are broadcasting live from Kamocha along Wanda Road where we are based. My panelists, I do have Honorable John Baptist Nambeshe. He's the opposition chief whip in Parliament. I also have Mr. Muguzi Henry. He is the executive director for Alliance for Finance Monitoring. Otim Levy Akona Pesa has just joined us. He is a political analyst. Good to have you, sir.
Thank you very much.
How have you been?
I'm not bad. I've been fine. We've been trying to rift within the political cycles of the country.
Yes.
Yes.
We actually planned to start discussing another part, of the dialogue, or the topic, and the second topic on this edition of the dialogue. But now that you came, I want to share with your opinion, or share with us what you know about Muwonge Nerugaba, who was in your region the other day. You were on ground. Probably you learned a thing or two that we didn't, for us who are not there. What is that you can tell us? You who was there? Yes, in a minute, because you came late and we have to discuss.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to the viewers. The presence of General Muwonge in Teso sub-region is rather a sign to show the kind of change of support that is being rather perceived within the sub-region. And politically, if you were to assess NRM's performance in Teso sub-region has been minimal. There are some districts that have been having overwhelming support for NRM as a party, and then the other that has always been densely populated with the opposition. Also, measuring in fact that we have been having a party president that is Amuriat from MKC. Now, MK's coming to Teso or visit to Teso shows that probably sub-region is looking towards rather a leadership, or looking towards a path that is, they feel has kind of transformative leadership. So, of course, MK being a young factor and joining politics, it might be having a relation with the current head of state. But then we cannot cut out the fact that he is also a very calculative person. He has a formidable team behind him. As you can see, the numbers that were there, possibly the messages that were also passed. But one thing that you have to know is that basing and measuring on the underground mobilization is what might give him, a lead in case he takes on, the presidency, or in case he comes out and he wants to become a member, a president, a presidential
candidate. Is he coming?
That one I'm not yet certain, but as you can see, actions, they always say speak louder than words. And for you to see one person having that kind of influence and power, and taking on the initiative to move and talk to people or talk to different types of communities, it gives you a signal that there's something that is being built. So
the presence of the presence of members of parliament. I'm taking you very fast.
Yes, yes.
The presence of members of parliament, was this something they were aware about, or they were tricked by the speaker? Because I see a number of them trying to distance themselves from it. But again, their argument, their justification was not coming out clearly. So you was on ground. Do you think these members of parliament who turned up at the speaker's residence, were they aware that the chief guest of the speaker was MK, or
Yes.
they were tricked into it?
Majority of them, out of I think 300 or so, most of them knew about the visit of MK, General Muwonge. They were aware, and if you were to do an assessment, even after the Thanksgiving at her residence or at her district, they still followed him to Soroti. So they were much aware, because you see, the whole sub-region, the members from Teso sub-region were very present.
All right.
During the time when he was in Soroti and also in Bukedia. So within the neighboring areas, including the sub-region where my brother, Honorable Nambeshe, comes from, most of them came in. Even including some of the people that defected. I don't know that they are defectants from NUP, but we had some of them.
No one has defected here.
No, we had this man from Ginger. So, just to pass a narrative that let's not cut out the fact that General Muhonzi probably is looking towards that direction. But I also don't want to say, I don't want to speculate. But like I passed it here some time ago, we expect to either see a shock or rather to find something that might lead the general to that seat before 2031.
Since we're expecting it, what kind of shock is that? Yes,
because you see, it's just a preparation.
Prepare us.
It's a transition. Possibly, I don't know how it's going to come.
Is he forming a party? Is he coming under NRM? Is he standing as individual independent?
MK movement is just,
or is he toppling the father?
Or is he doing a Burkina Faso?
MK is just a pressure group. But I want to believe that within the NRM system, there might be party elections.
But he's not. He's rubbish. The NRM system is corrupt inherently.
But muwonge,
yes.
Maybe just to interject a bit.
Yes.
It would be the height of dishonesty on the part of my brother, our team, to claim right from inception that this movement, which now we can read like a book, is transformative, when in the actual fact it is transactional. If he talks of people who have come from my sub-region of Gisu, I know. These were people who were very expecting to reap big, yes. Yeah.
Gentlemen,
and the president has come out point blank.
Yes.
He has actually given free counsel and guidance to his son to beware.
These are plastic clouds.
Speaking from experience.
They are not organic clouds.
Gentlemen,
cosmetic.
I'm afraid we have to cross and then discuss something else. Is another important thing, and that is the World Bank and its money. The news, when it was broken, that the World Bank, that is the world's biggest funder, has moved a decision to suspend, extending loans to us. It's something that scared some of us. But the president's, reaction to it, again, it gave us some comfort. Mr. Muguzi, I think I've never heard you since that thing was passed. I wanted you to share with us the impact if the World Bank maintained its position and said that we are no longer going to fund, to lend to Uganda. What impact could this have on our economic and social status as a country? Because so many projects that have been funded by the World Bank here. You would literally say that without their money, we may be broken.
Are you sure? So, I'm going to speak both as a Pan-Africanist, but also as a Ugandan. So, the effect of the World Bank sanctions in the short term are going to be colossal. Because the truth is, we have been kept on oxygen, World Bank's oxygen, for quite some time. And when a patient has been on oxygen, you don't just plug it. So if you plug it the way they have plugged it, in the short run, of course, we are going to have serious consequences, because there's going to be gaps, especially those that are going to be hard hit, are going to be the over 1 million, is it about 1.5 million, that have been dependent on PEPFAR funds. There's been projects, the cities and municipality, those that money comes from the World Bank, and there have been other projects ongoing. But as a Pan-Africanist, I think there is always a silver lining on every cloud, and I think this cloud has a silver lining, because for the longest time, those Bretton Woods sisters, World Bank and IMF, have come here with their policies, and we have religiously implemented those policies. I remember between 1986 and 1996, they had promised the president of Uganda support. By 2000, Uganda had no roads. The coverage of tarmac roads was very small. We had a power crisis. We could not build the dams. We had privatized everything, opened up the economy, including selling the National Bank, Uganda Commercial Bank, which the president now says was a mistake. So we had religiously
we even followed the structural adjustment programs.
Religiously, the SAPs, the retrenchment, all those policies. Are we any better today? The president had to take a paradigm shift from the Western donors, those World Bank fellows, to China. That's when we started seeing, to the East, that's when we started seeing improvement. So in the short run, we will be impacted. But as a Pan-African, I think we need to put a stop on these monies. These are the monies that have been coming into the country. The very corrupt technocracy that MK talks about. Okay? In the political class, but also the technocracy, the corrupt. That's what they've been feasting on. Most of that money has not been reaching my mother, his father. It hasn't been reaching there.
In fact, one time the president said that they were borrowing without his consent.
Absolutely. So there was this, bonanza of borrowing and feasting on this money. Let me tell you one thing. We have men and women in the public service, but also political offices that place personal good before public good. So whatever they do as a service is service to self, not service to the country. That's why we always ask this question: where is love for country? The way they manage the procurement processes, the contracts, the way you hear stories of the rot that is happening in every ministry, whether it is UNBS, whether it is Ministry of Trade, whether it is URA, whether it is UNRWA, wherever you touch, it is rotten. It's this money that we've just been borrowing. There have been also allegations, and the Honorable Nambeshe will bear me witness, that some of these ministers from the Ministry of Finance who come and convince the House to approve the loans also have a cut. So these are things, this thuggery had to stop. So in the short run, we are going to be affected, but in the long run, we are going to be, I think it's the best thing to do. The last point I make.
In the absence of that World Bank's money, that flags that they're going to focus on the money to have here.
No, then we have to deal with it, because you see now.
And there's still what is here, which is going to be little actually.
Then we have to wake up from slumber and say, okay, now what do we do? First of all, we have to bring down corruption. The IGG tells you that through corruption, every year we are losing 20 trillion? How many trillion? 20 trillion. So if you dealt with it halfway, you can save 10 trillion already. So I think we need to be frugal now. We need to explore other measures and mechanisms. We cannot keep on oxygen from the World Bank forever. We cannot help Africa. And also, if Africa is going to take the next step, we have to become independent. We've been dependent on World Bank and IMF and Western donors for the longest time. And that has taken us nowhere. This is now as a Pan-African.
Mr. Tim.
Yes.
President Museveni had told us that Ugandans don't worry. And it was very clear, Ugandans, especially the Bazukulu. But I don't know why President Museveni, when he's speaking to Ugandans, he gives so much focus to the Bazukulu.
Because the population of Bazukulu is big.
The biggest population is now the Bazukulu.
About 70%.
I follow his writings.
Below, she's age and below.
All right.
Actually, below 50.
Nice Bazukulu.
Yes.
Here he told us that, look, we shouldn't be worried. With or without the World Bank's money, we are going to continue doing well as an economy. But the Prime Minister here tells us that, look here, we are still in talks. The World Bank, on the other hand, has not come out to say that we are still in talks with Uganda. For them, we are like, we sent our team, they gathered what they gathered, brought the report to us, and we realized that Uganda as a nation, it's discriminating against, some part of its section of some of its populace. And for us, as World Bank, we are all inclusive. For that matter, we are suspending extending loans to them. Here, the President told us that we can still do better without their money. But the Prime Minister tells us that they are in talks, which makes me think that, look here, we might be scared as a country. That once World Bank stops, extending loans to us, this might have a huge impact on us. And that's the reason we are still in talks with them.
No, you see, thank you very much, my brother. You see, issues to deal with the World Bank and then the loans, the facilities and grants. has always been one of the backlogs of economic growth for Uganda as a country. And when I say the backlog, I mean it this way. For any country to develop, you always need a productive kind of setting, private sector. Now, if the private sector is not influencing on the business within the interior, within the economy, it always faces difficulties. There are certain things that we need to do in order to adjust to the current, arrangements or to the current, scenario, whatever that has transpired. For the president to come out and then say that we can do without loans from World Bank, IMF, I support his idea. As a country, we need to start. Same way my brother Henry has addressed that it is time for Uganda to face reality. The time when Honorable Bahati was the Minister of State for Finance, we had that parliament at that moment passing a lot of loan agreements, as I think you can attest to it, Honorable Nambeshe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Until
Parliament,
it was even nicknamed.
Until it was nicknamed the Minister for
Borrowing.
Now, that alone brought a lot of grievances because most of those loan agreements come with their own settings. And now, you know when you have lots of loans coming in and then the money becomes idle in the treasury or the consolidated fund, it becomes a problem because we have to keep on paying. So every financial year and every time that we are trying to pass the budget, you are looking at paying external loans and external debt. That alone has been bringing a lot of grievances to us as a country, and we are not developing. Now, for World Bank to come and then want to subject us to this kind of suspension based on the LGBT, agreements and so on, that alone cannot make an institution as powerful as the World Bank and then the Bretton Woods to cancel loans, loan advance. I thought these loans are projected towards business. But if they are tied to certain preconditions, then we cannot work with them. We have other alliances that are willing to give us facilitation, but without being subjected to certain things that are going to tear down our beliefs as a country, our cultural norms, and then the sovereignty that we have. If Uganda is to stand based on religious beliefs, then we have to act.
Can I give some facts, Idrissa? I'm reading here. So the current debt for Uganda, as it is now, is 86 trillion. Every year now,
80.6.
86 trillion is the current public debt. Now, citizens have to know, the viewers, that you see, World Bank does not give grants; they give loans.
They give loans,
which you pay back,
and those loans
and it's you people to pay back. Now, here it says the current budget is 52. The budget for 2023-24 financial is 52 trillion. Out of that, 22 has been earmarked as interest on the interest, not the principal, but interest. So we already at a level where the debt is unbearable and unsustainable.
Yes,
in fact, they are helping us.
So this could be a blessing in this
case.
Yes. It is above the 50% margin.
Correct.
But that is not
it's 52 now, 52%.
Accumulated from World Bank.
As we are speaking here,
he says something important.
That debt, of course, is not only accumulated from...
You are right. And other donors, yeah. And other lenders.
That's what I thought.
But the biggest margin should be from World
Yeah,
Bank.
from World Bank.
Now, there are loans that were highlighted by the president when he delivered his speech. And he said that there are certain loans that are acceptable. Loans that are looking towards health, education, and then development, socio-economic, value addition. Those are the loans that we can go with. But loans that you borrow, and then you are subjecting those loans to be handling seminars, and then teaching people how to take coffee,
buy cars,
teaching people how to take tea. These are things that will not develop the country. There are certain policies, or there are certain engagements that Parliament as an institution should begin enforcing, streamline on them, so that we can fasten on the kind of siphoning from these public servants. You talked about it, and by the fact that we have the PAC, we have IGG, we have the anti-corruption of State House, it is now their mandate to show us what they are capable of. This is now time for the leaders to come out and show us their capability. But we don't want a scenario where one leader comes and then says that we are in talks with World Bank. What are you talking with World Bank? There's nothing to talk with the World Bank.
You're persuading them to reconsider their decision.
Yes, they should reconsider. They should follow what the president is trying to do. He has already streamlined in his report that there are certain loans that we should not focus on. He's not going to accept that.
Isn't he the one who's sending the team that is negotiating with the World Bank?
The president has not mentioned anything about sending the team.
Oh, wait a second. The Prime Minister of Uganda comes out to say that we are in negotiations,
and
you're saying the president is not aware.
Let me tell you, the country that we are serving in, I myself am subscribed to NRM, but I will always be objective and not subjective. Now I'm passing this to you. That the country we are in is a country that has cliques, what they call power brokers, economic sabotagers, or saboteurs. That's how they call them. These are people, instead of measuring on something that is going to develop a nation as a whole, they are first looking at themselves. You capitalize on something.
Private interest.
Yes, private interest. You capitalize on something that you want to elevate you and not elevate the people that you are leading.
And many have let down the president.
And that is within the technical teams. Now, if a technical person comes and then advises a prime minister who's rather political attaché and handling all government businesses, of course she will go on with what the technical man has said. Just like you will say that one person was coming and then fronting certain loans because he has percentages or commissions attached to them. Okay. That is not what we want. The president streamlined more than 20 loans that should not be accepted. You cannot borrow a loan under the Islamic Development Bank and it's going to rather be used as a private public partnership. It's going to be used to develop IU. Now, why don't you pass that loan through the education sector and let government register it as a loan that has to pay?
But even there, the highness will feast on it.
Yes, but the fact that you are borrowing money under private, under private partnership, and then you want private, sector, and then you want government to pay the loan, that is the subjecting government to double work.
All right.
Then there is also another thing, I think, as I conclude. Uganda as a country should now begin focusing on commercialized agriculture. Mechanization of our agricultural
food
production, manufacturing. We cannot be a country that exports.
Why should Africa be dependent on wheat from Russia and Ukraine?
But we have land. We have vast land here. Putin himself put it to us and said, Africa as a continent has a vast land and it can produce food that can feed all of them. Europe, Asia, and so on.
Question is, do they have what it takes to engage in agriculture?
No, if we have technical people, and then we have the input, we need the leadership to pass through. Those are now policies that they should front, so that they can help. But then, you see,
Nambeshe is hearing our views when he gets into parliament, into government. When he gets into government.
I'm also addressing to Honorable Nambeshe because he has the space. Yes. Now, if you're to look at Uganda as a country, look at the sub-regions. You should be monitoring which particular sub-regions or which particular regions are good at a certain activity and focus on that. We cannot be a country that exports raw materials and then import finished products. But we should rather see how to utilize, get the raw materials, put them into the manufacturing process and export our byproducts.
So the World Bank wants us to export raw materials and import finished products.
So that they can give us their loans. You want to subject us into ideas of homosexuality so that you can pass your agenda.
All right.
And then also, before you hand over to Honorable, we have the issue of the oil and gas. Why are we beginning to develop problems with World Bank and IMF when the pipelines are already being constructed? 60%, 67% completion. That shows you the level of imperialism that these people are trying to subject us into.
All right.
As I conclude,
by the way, one of the victims of this suspension is a loan to construct the pipeline, 6.7 trillion.
Yes. Well, that was coming from the World Bank.
And then also
let's go to Moscow.
But no,
China.
You already saw the president. You already saw the Russian Africa summit.
You mentioned Russia as well.
No, you saw the Russia African summit. The president addressed to Putin and said that we have the oil. If you can,
correction.
It is a joint partnership.
Correction.
Yes.
We have little oil.
No, but you, of course, you address it.
His words were little oil.
You address it as a little oil because possibly what other nations or what Russia.
Well, Tim, let me go to Honorable Nambeshe.
No, before you hand it over to him, I want to just pass this across. Uganda is rich. And
Africa is rich.
No, I just want to say Uganda is rich.
Rich but poor.
If you are to see the Bukisu sub-region, no, rich but poor because of our leadership.
Cast by
now
green.
you are talking.
No, that institution
we
is not
have a wrong leadership.
Problem.
That
Yes.
institution that is supposed to be amending, representing the people and so on is not doing their right thing. They're not doing the proper mandate.
Which one?
And
The
what-
Parliament?
Yes, Parliament has an institution.
It is
They should be rather
captured. Somebody has
properly
captured it, that's why.
No, I don't know whether it is captured also, but that is what I'm trying to pass across. You see, for instance, Bukisu sub-region, they have been dwelling on coffee as a cash crop
Till now.
until now. And if you have to see that Bukisu sub-region has developed because of coffee. Teso by then was of meat production, and then we had cotton, and then we also had the cassava. But right now, if you have to go, most of those people are subjected to handouts. They are no longer doing those activities. Now, if you have to look at the western part of this region, they are dealing in milk production, and then they are also dealing in meat production. So those are things, Matoke, those are things that Uganda is, blessed and, should be focusing on so that we can be able to generate our revenue.
All right.
Yes.
Honorable, we are here because you took us there. When I say you, Parliament, the mode with which you passed that law, we're all excited as citizens because we have
We are still excited.
a culture, we have a God to serve. Uganda is a God-fearing country, and there's no religion. The last time I checked, there's no religion which condones homosexuality. But the impact or the repercussions are this, that the World Bank has now moved to suspend extending loans to us. I hear that some of you, there are some travel bans that have been, slapped on you. Some of your colleagues, I had the move of this bill, which passed the Tulo now, Asman Basar himself.
No, the entire parliament, even the circular was made by, I think it transferred the anchor from the speaker.
Blunt question.
No members can travel to the US.
A travel ban.
It's a travel ban
a
on
sanction.
all the entire membership of parliament.
First question to you. Do you have regrets as members of parliament?
No regrets at all. For your information, I'm only perturbed by the head of state. He speaks from both sides of the mouth. And also what shocks and mesmerizes one at once is the double standards exhibited by this World Bank and IMF. They have incorporated human rights concerns in their operations. But we see I was looking at it much earlier, they were supportive of apartheid government in South Africa against the majority of the Africans. Moreover, the rights they should have defended would have been of these ones who are the minority in terms of rights. We have seen gross human rights violations in this country, including extrajudicial killings, torture, name it. They have not reacted. Why would they champion the rights of sexual and gender that is in the conceptual West, and they impose it on us, and they use it as a weapon? If they wanted, like he had observed earlier, to hit at their target, who is the president, they wouldn't have used this. There could have been other. That's why I was disagreeing that they are aiming at the president. Far from it. The president, they could have used these cross human rights violations during elections. For instance, the recently concluded elections of 2021, when we lost 54, but there were even more in cold blood. Now, they wait for this, you just get to know that there is more to it than meets the eye. One, which has already started happening, is that much as we see a slap of the loan suspending the loan facility, their dollar, they are earning a lot as World Bank through the appreciation of their dollar. But the way the pressure has come on the shilling, by the major currencies, particularly the dollar. And for that reason, the dollar is enjoying and has been enjoying through the long-term payments. The longer you take, the better for them, the dollar will earn through appreciation. But the fundamental question which colleagues here should be asking is, why is it that given that there is a competition of other donors and lenders, why is it that Uganda government is still hell-bent on accessing loans? Because they go on a bended knee to ask World Bank and IMF, literally, year in, year out. We have had spring meetings, which I've ever also attended. They go and negotiate these loans. One of the advantages of this loan facility from World Bank is that it has a longer period of grace compared to these others. But two, and most importantly, most of their loans, right from 2018, they are interest-free, by the way. They are concessional compared to the Chinese and maybe these other countries, because the emergence of BRICS, I can see, is endearing most of the African countries, the global south, to them. But the truth of the matter is that their loans are the cheapest in the market throughout. That's why you can't do without them. And the truth of the matter is that President Museveni was already speaking in tongues when he realized, you saw it coming. When after signing,
yes,
when he returned,
in fact, we were all wondering why has this come as a surprise?
It was not.
We
a surprise.
knew that this was bound to come,
yes,
as long as you passed this bill into law.
Yes,
we saw it coming. We should have seen it coming.
He started visiting around how to have this law 50-50 so that he takes care of his interests. He still needs this money. And I will say why. When this law was returned to Parliament, there was actually what was purported to be changed had already been taken care of. Then he convened a meeting in Kololo and said, well, we are not, after you doing your thing, you are free and at liberty to do it in the doors, in Uganda, nobody will touch you.
You not impose it on us.
But as long as you are not imposing or even promoting, speaking in tongues. Sure. Now, as we talk, the negotiations are on. Why?
He says they are not negotiations.
As of now, not yet.
Let me tell you,
unless they are doing the back door.
The negotiations are on. And let me tell you, the loan portfolio, the funding portfolio is soft to Uganda of this loan is 5.2 billion USD.
Yes.
And that is close to 20 trillion.
Yes.
And that is the biggest.
Almost half the budget.
Almost half the budget. And there is no way you can say you can do without it. You see, you say seminars, maybe this whole poaching, corruption. And that is where we should now focus. If Uganda would have, for the first time ever, or show some political will in the fight against corruption, and nip these hemorrhages in the bud, most of this funding would have had a serious impact on ground, especially in the social sector, education, healthcare services, name it. But the challenge we have is that most of the hands that handle this money stick, they have grew in their eyes. Most of the money remains in their hands.
Honorable, I wanted you, what comes into your mind when the president says that even some of these loans are acquired without my knowledge?
That's not true.
In other words, they are not needed. We don't need them.
That's not true. President Museveni, by virtue of his office, is the substantive Minister of Finance. Nothing happens, and he's a micromanager. If you have ever seen a president, the head of state, who micromanages, it is President Museveni.
But I think the honorable has to know.
Always know what comes here. He knows. He's in the know. If you
one would ask why the
advancing.
president lie to the citizens like that?
Would it be the first time he's lying?
Let me say something here,
It's
because
not the first
we
time.
have all managed institutions. As the manager of the institution, you are the accounting officer, all right?
Yes.
But there are certain things you can sign without, because you see, at any one time you are inundated by too many staff, and so you have to say, this is Okonapesa. I trust him. So if you present something, I believe, then you sign without reading. Because if you are going to scrutinize every single document, then you will do just that.
No,
so I think there are certain things
let Henry persuade me.
Slip his hand, his eyes.
Convincingly to agree with the argument is advancing. If President Museveni has now realized that they had been tricking him to sign some useless loans,
Take action.
what action has he taken?
Punitive.
Which deterrent? Even when Karamajong iron sheets, where we expected him to stamp his foot, he has not even asking.
Did you see his warning?
Warning or asking the culprits to even stepping.
He warned that whoever touched the Karamajong
if you allow,
is going to face it rough.
If you are the one in charge and you have realized that these things are happening, you put a deterrent. And that one, the president has all it takes, surely, to stamp his foot down
I
hard.
think God did not give him that talent to take the stand you are proposing. It is in Kagame instead.
No, I highly
Should we say he's so kind?
No, not
No,
kind.
you see,
No,
you
no,
see.
not kind.
You see,
It is not in him. It is in Kagame.
I don't know whether this president, when he had just come, he had really portrayed himself as a fighter. The will was there. I remember you could be, even his men, officers and men would be fired on firing squad if you were caught with on the wrong side of the law. But eventually he changed, I think, maybe because he thinks with the money, if people have amassed it like rubbish around them and you touch them, fighting the powerful, they may turn against you. So he only bothers. What bothers him is his seat. He no longer cares about what happens to you Ugandans. That's why it will take us ages to see healthcare services being given attention.
That's what you meant when you said that he doesn't love us.
And that is it, exactly. Because tell me, how long did it take that regime?
I mean, love the people or love the country?
If you are not patriotic, love for country involves love
Loving
for
the people.
Yes, the people. But if you lack in that aspect of patriotism, which you preach, that you are preaching water, but I mean preaching water.
Preach water, you take wine.
What I was.
I know, I can tell what is running Mr. Otim's head here. He's like a man who put his life on the line. Went to the bush, slept in the bush for 5 years, fighting for, Ugandans.
For freedom.
For freedom. He's the one you're saying that he doesn't love this country. It reminds me of Mr. Muwonge, what he said to Justice Ogola when I asked him that why not patriotic, and was like, you're questioning my patriotism. I put my life on the line, went to fight for this country when it was in turmoil. For you were probably in America enjoying the sausage.
Mut has said that those who went to the bush that he was with there had different motives. There are those that wanted change and freedom, but there are those that were fighting so that we can eat. So you need to now to draw a clear distinction between those who went there to enrich themselves.
But honestly, for President Museveni, I could give him a benefit of doubt. Yes. But how long is long enough for you to hand that power? Because we thought he was a gift God given to help Uganda for the first time ever to see a smooth, peaceful transfer.
I think he's working on that.
Power. He has not.
He's working on
when
that.
he removed the two
allowed the sun. The sun.
He's working on that.
The man is unstoppable. Yeah. Now it is a presidential monarchy. The sun has to come. And so
if the sun came, if Museveni left us with his son, wouldn't that be a transition?
It would be worse.
No, but it will have it will be a transition from another person.
Transition. It is
to another person.
It is a monarchy now. It is being passed over.
What would you call a transition?
A transition
handing over
to
a one of your kind,
where you allow a competition of ideas, ideology, not biology. draw a line on that. Okay. If you allow a competition of ideas, but I'm telling you in Uganda, the hardest work or rather the worst place to be in is in opposition, where you are not allowed breathing space to even hold a meeting, but the sun is allowed latitude to move all over the country. It's very disgusting. We feel so bad. So President Museveni is not after ideas. No. If you have brilliant ideas, then it threatens. That's why I'm telling you he's insecure. He has changed his security detail of reason he has, including gadgets that have to guard him. He no longer actually trusts the ones he used to use. So here is a man who would want only trusts only. Because one time he came out, even, and I've said he's an honest man. He said, I'm not a servant of these people.
Your principal has just said something about that thing where President Museveni is now moving these days. And I quote, he says, that is Bobby Wine, Mr. Chagwen says, that the man who has manipulated our constitution and elections several times to remain in power, while claiming that it's the people who don't want him to go away, is the same man now acting like a fugitive, protecting himself from the same people he claims to love him. Tonza Nyisa. That is Mr. Chagwen Sentamu commenting on this thing where President Museveni is now.
Yeah, he is right. Because President Museveni is only concentrating his focus on securing. In fact, he's a life president. He has only fallen shy of mentioning it like did.
Isn't that a contradiction? You already just told us that he's trying to bring his son, prepare himself.
I highly doubt whether his son will appear on the ballot come 2026. I highly doubt.
So the son will only be contest for presidency when Museveni is no longer in the picture? That's what you say?
That is it, because he said it. He said why he named him Muguzi.
To avenge me.
Yes. That is when the avenging time comes. But as of now, there was a group which had been, of course, stage managed from the curtains. It was advocating for a parliamentary system, you remember. How did it suffer a natural death? It is because of an emergence.
Has it suffered yet?
It has.
The bill is coming.
And I'll tell you why. It has. And it has suffered that because of a suspected emergence of another power center in parliament here. And I would want my friend, you have a very good name, Unapesa. Unapesa kwa Kiswahili manake.
Yeah, Anapesa.
Okona pesa. It doesn't have.
Unapesa, you see what Museveni fears most is someone who can, because you wanted that one polling station, where his son, who is unpopular, would easily make it. But he realized that there is another person who has so much influence that can mobilize these people, even they could impeach a sitting president. He has shifted now. That thing has died. It will remain adult suffrage, whatever it is. That's why I have to put it to you whether Muguzi surely was responsible for the mammoth crowds, or it was Haji Alagide. You understand Kiganda?
Yes.
There was a Haji Alagide in the curtains, in the person of the kingpin now in the sub-region. That now Muguzi is so unpopular that he cannot invite over the number of members of parliament. In fact, when he attempted to get members of parliament, he could hardly hazard a quarter of the house. But courtesy of the efforts of the Right Honorable, Muguzi was able to meet so many members of parliament. Besides that, almost 3/4 of Teso gathered to pay homage.
Yes.
Really? Majorly,
She really mobilized.
No, she mobilized a lot.
Massive.
She did. And some people
What's the population of Teso?
Nearly, if you to put...
About 6 million?
No, less.
No, less. But it was really...
Four, so.
It was
so
really
make
massive.
About 1 million Teso.
It was really massive.
Yeah, it was a massive.
So now, do you think President Museveni, who who has been around for a while, now does not know the weakness with the son and may be having issue with this person now who is an emerging power center. That's why I'm telling you, someone could be heading for serious trouble with the powers that be.
There are two pictures that I sent to our producer. He's going to share them with us about President Museveni of 1996 and President Museveni of 2023. If you are very critical and you have followed political events as they have been unfolding in this country, and look at these two pictures clearly, they're not going to leave you the same. But you wanted to say something. No, as you wait for those pictures.
I think just to weigh on with what my colleagues have said about the particular issue of transition and then MK, and also based on his last statement of Honorable Nambeshe. Of course, you understand that, you see, in a country that is much revolutionized, I can say it that way, and then with a military ideology, you tend to realize the kind of setting that rather the system is looking at the moment.
Mr. Otim, there's President Museveni in 2023. Myself, when I saw that pictures alone, and a lot came into my mind.
But you can also see the bushes around there. So you see, with the current scenario and security,
snipers could be hanging in the trees.
If you are, and I've never seen him. There is a book that you should read.
What's that book?
That is behind the presidential curtains, and how assassinations were always, influenced and implemented.
There's another one you should read. It's called The Dictator's Dilemma.
Mr. T, I hope you are old enough in 1990.
See how free?
Yes.
That's the picture that was taken in 1990. Very comfortable and
that is when he was a darling of the people.
Myself was in primary one when was the campaign in 1990. I saw President Musov myself.
1996. 96.
I was in primary one.
95.
Primary one.
I said 1996. Yes, and he would sit on top of the car, speak confidently. You see even the smile. But now, take us back to 2023, Mr. Producer. Emmanuel started hiding from us now. This says a lot, Mr. Tim. However much you'd want to, put in a lot of PR here and not speak on this picture, but it speaks a lot.
Insecurity.
He has lost trust
Insecurity. I'm telling you, he does not know who the enemy is. He thinks everybody is an enemy.
Okay, let's base on this.
He fears even shadows.
Yeah, let's base on this. You see, for every human being, they even trust less their shadows. Now, for the president, by the time in 1990, that is the time he had just come out of the bush. I think 4 years or 5 years.
No, that was 1995.
That was 1990.
95. 96 election.
Yes.
After the Constitution.
Why I brought 1996?
After the Constitution.
Said, in 96, he would be on top of the car and then speak the
up to 1998, he was still a very,
even the early 2000s.
You see, the president, the current president we have in Uganda is one that is full of ideology. Too much, wisdom, and when he speaks, you only see sense. So, right now, there are certain doors that possibly have been touched or stepped on, and they're shaky. And for that particular area, that is Kabale. He was in Kabale. Kabale has a different environmental setting. And Kabale being near a certain nemesis, he's always... No, hold on, let me tell you. Yes, it's the first time we're celebrating that it was the youth celebration, International Youth Day. He's near one of his nemesis. He always has an on and off relationship with that particular person.
So we are only going to see this when he's in cover. That's what you're saying. We are only going to see this when he's in cover.
He's been in that glass while passing out to soldiers I've seen somewhere.
Yes, but also for the fact that he was in the outcast, that is the western part,
the mountainous
area. He understands the games his counterpart, the neighbor, plays very well. And if you are to read that book, that particular book that I was telling you about, Behind the Presidential Curtains, nobody... Even Honorable Nambeshe...
Dissect this for me.
Yes.
When he said, Ugandans, I'm not your servant. I'm not. I work for the people he only believes in are his own blood, the sons and daughters. Was that wisdom, honestly? And we see it come to pass by the day, especially now when he anoints the sun. There is every sign in the air to show that the only person he trusts and who will avenge for him is the son.
I was trying to avoid this, but let me put it.
Yes, we checked out.
But again, the one, maybe he fears, he fears that maybe, you know, now in Uganda, the only movement that could be having a militia is MK. These others, like us who are in NOP, we have chosen to have the civil way of engagement. But we are reliably informed that MK has his own army. And I think because it could be because it's an army within an army. And maybe now, even with the greed for power, there could be some rift in the palace. And the father may fear that, it is still premature for the son to take over and I should barricade myself so that an Obote does not happen to me. What happened to Obote in the Lukogo?
Gentlemen, I thank you. We have to get out of here. Thank you so much, Honorable John Baptist Nambeshe, for honoring our invitation to meet
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Muguzi Henry. Thank you so much, Mr. Acfim Levi Ako Napesa. I hope next time we start together. Yes. Thank you so much, our viewers who have come to the end of the show. I hope to be here again next weekend. May the good Lord continue blessing you. From us here, we say have a beautiful day and may the Lord bless you. Goodbye for now.